Brightbill might have been maybe about 150 people.
Was it Amdocs acquired them?
Absolutely, it was there when we got acquired. So we got acquired in September 2016. So then get acquired by a company like 30,000 people. Very different experience and how they work. And
So who are eDesk?
have you ever bought anything online? The answer is yes. And have you ever had a problem with customer support with a purchase online? Most people say yes. And eDesk fixes that problem. And then we've AI layered on top of that. So that allows you to automate, respond quickly, handle multilingual capabilities, all that type of stuff. Run 24/7, even if you don't have 24/7 staff. And when it comes to e-commerce, probably 70% of the queries you kind of put into 10 categories, like where's my order?
Okay, so from a machine learning perspective, it wasn't that broad.
You have the data. So if I'm a consumer asking a question, the AI can answer the question with the context. It has the order history, it has the product data, you can tell if it's in stock or not. If you answer them in less than 15 minutes and answer them accurately, quickly, your conversion rate increases by that 23%, right, in terms of, so it's significant.
Gareth, you're very welcome to our Leaders in Tech podcast. Thanks a million for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Neil. It's great to be on it. Finally, I would say.
Finally, yeah.
Yes.
I've only asked you 17 times
yes.
This year. No, but brilliant to put the time in and come in and have a conversation with us. So I'll be gentle and we'll see where we go. Do take me back a little bit, right? I'm curious to know how you landed in technology after college and you're kind of the start part of your career. Just kind of take me back a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Decisions, why you went down, kind of consulting, didn't you? And you have a few different industries in the early part of your year. Take me back a little bit.
Take you back, yeah, absolutely. Well, I was always into tech a little bit. I remember the first computer I got was like a Commodore 64. I'm showing my age, that's going back quite a while, right? But I was kind of bitten by the bug a little bit. And back then you could do a little bit of basic programming, create games and all that type of stuff. So I always had an interest. Then I probably detoured along the way. Like I maybe didn't take a traditional route in terms of getting into tech or stuff like that. I wasn't sure when I came out of school, and I did a business degree for a bit, but I dropped out of that. And then I was working, because in my house, you always, one thing you had to be out working, right? And at the time, I would have been working a couple of jobs. I was actually working in a bar and also working in a warehouse. And my dad was like, come on, you need to do something better than this. So I went into a PLC and did a couple of years there and kind of learned some of the basic tech stuff. And then I went in and started working. My first job actually was doing web development. So that's where I started off. And that was interesting because you got to meet, I guess that was the first taste, because you'd be going out, when I say the first taste, in terms of where my kind of career went, because you'd go out and meet customers and face to face, and they'd have requirements. And so I was dealing with that from the start, right? So I wasn't kind of hidden away, just kind of banging on the keyboard, So, and I always liked that element. I liked the interaction. I liked the kind of different parts of that. So from there, I kind of progressed and I worked a couple of different jobs, and I ended up in a startup, relative startup called, at the time they're called Global Force. They're called WorkHuman now.
Yeah, motivational software and that, wasn't it, back in the day? Yeah.
Back in the day. Yeah. Now, when I joined, I didn't join as a senior member or anything like that, but it was still probably about a 30 or 40 person company. And even just in the size of a company like that, as it was growing, you got to see lots of different things. And I guess that was really interesting for me. And I was probably around 26 at that stage. And I was like, I need to go back and do a degree. So it was a big motivation for me then. So I went back and I studied part-time in the evening in Trinity, which is pretty cool, because I remember when I was in fourth year in school or whatever, and you do these you go to open days in colleges. I remember going to Trinity and I was like, I'll never be here. So, that was my thought process.
The story you told yourself.
Yeah. That's what I told myself, right? Which is kind of, so when I got back there and got in and did a degree, that was pretty cool to kind of look back at where I was when I was 16, as opposed to when I finished the degree when I was 29. But to come out.
But that was technical, was it? Was that?
Yeah, computer science. Computer science. But really enjoyed it. When I was 17, 18, did I have that much interest in college? No, not really. But by the time I got to kind of 26 or 27, I was more mature. I knew what I wanted to do. I also had my first child on the way, so that's a great motivator in terms of
necessity.
Yeah. I need to get going here. So went back.
You was doing that whilst working in Global Force? So sorry, part-time, was it like evenings and that?
It was evenings, yeah. So it was tough enough. It was 3 evenings and Saturday mornings. And evenings would be 3 hours. So I think it was Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. And Saturday morning. And then you had assignments and all on top of that. And then Keane, who's my first child, he was born like, guess when it was in second or third year. So there was a lot going on, you know?
Yeah. No time for pints then?
No time for pints. Yeah. I still found time for pints. I always find time for pints. But I enjoyed it. It was hard work, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the learning. And I enjoyed maybe even prove myself a little bit. Do you know what I mean? In terms of that I was able to kind of achieve that. So yeah, it was.
Was it hard? Like, did you find like, or did you? No, be honest. Like, did you kind of take to it quite well? Like, did you know you had that? Like, computer science is not easy. You know, you still need to be smart. You need to be technically minded. You need good maths. Good. You know, doesn't come easy to everyone. Even if you do put the bloody work in. Like, you obviously had the aptitude for it, and you know, I presume. Like, or did you work your butt off, or did it come pretty natural to you?
No, I did work hard, right? There's no doubt about that. But I did find it came naturally to me, right? And I guess that was a great moment for me in terms of when I remember even when I just started, it was like, yeah, this is like I was working in tech already, so I knew it was my thing, but it was just more of an affirmation that, yeah, like I really, and I was, I don't know, coming across as too, but I was doing well, right? I knew myself that I was, because what I did, it was a 4-year course, right? I was like, I don't do 4 years, because I had to pay for it myself, right? In terms of, because it was a part-time degree. So I said, I kind of got my way into second year, because I said, look, I've been working and stuff like that. But that means I was a year behind everyone else in the class when I came in, you know? So I had to work hard, but I also knew, like, because within a month or two, I caught up, or I was as good, you know? So for me, that was even...
Good validation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Feeling...
Yes, and got a lot of confidence
well in my depth here. Like, yeah, yes. But it's good to... You know what I mean? You have this kind of... Don't we? We have these kind of things sometimes if we're late, or we have to tell ourselves this narrative. And then when you're rocking in and realize I'm well within myself here.
Yeah.
It is. And then cracked on then, didn't you?
Yeah, cracked on, exactly. So finished the degree. And
did you stay in that company that whole time when you're doing it? Or did you jump in the middle? Oh,
no,
okay.
I stayed to the end. So I would have finished the degree in whatever it was, I guess May or June. And you know, I was kind of out looking a little bit in terms of jobs and stuff like that. My original ambition was to work in Google. Like, that was a big thing for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they were doing a lot of hiring back then.
They were. Yeah. And I remember
10 interviews.
Yeah. This is a failure story, right? So, like, it was a big thing for me to work in Google. I kind of had my sights set on a little bit. Did a degree. Probably was around July that year. Got an interview, right? And the way they did it was a phone screening at the time. And they asked you 3 questions. And you had to get 2 out of 3 right? I only got 1 out of 3 right. That was it. And like,
oh no!
I remember sitting, because I was in my car. You know, it was lunchtime, so I went to my car. I did, and that was it. It was like done. Like, do you know what I mean? And that was, I'd been thinking about that for like 3-4 years in terms of, you know. So that was.
Do you still remember the questions?
I do. I still remember the one I got wrong.
Give me one.
No.
Come on.
No.
I was going to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I actually used one of those questions. Well, I did, not anymore. But when I was doing tech interviews, I used to use that same question and ask people. You know what I mean? So I didn't forget it. I got it wrong, but I didn't forget it. So, you know, it's like anything in life. You get something out of it, right? Even you didn't get what you want.
Now no candidate gets past you because of the same.
Maybe I'm not as quite as strict.
Yeah.
Or quite as
yeah. Well, that was oh God, I'm dusting off my merit. So that was probably Park Quest, and then when did you go Centennial then?
Yes.
No, that was straight after that.
No, that's right. Yes, Centennial.
Okay, so motivational software to banking SEPA payment software, was it?
Yeah, fair play.
No notes, no big deal. No notes.
I'm impressed.
I've been at it. So over to Maynooth.
Yes, over to Maynooth. That's right. Yeah. Which was a great company. In banking, started off in kind of direct debit. SEPA was a new direct debit mandate scheme that we're bringing across Europe. They're trying to kind of centralize European direct debits, right? Because the whole idea was that, you know, if I had a property in Spain, whatever, I could set up a direct debit in my bank in Ireland. And, you know, that was the idea, to kind of harmonize direct debits to a certain degree. So yeah, joined there. Again, it was a relatively small company when I joined. I'm going to say, I don't know, 40 people, 40, 50 people, small enough. Maybe even a little bit smaller, actually. I joined there, and they were building a couple of new products they're aiming to deploy into banks around the SEPA payments. What was unique there was that they were, like banks traditionally are running on mainframes and legacy tech and all that type of stuff. And we were building solutions like on the cloud or hosted for the bank. And we would host them outside. So kind of cloud solutions. So this is around 2009, 2010, which is quite new. And it was, for a lot of the banks, it was the first time they were allowing a vendor to host something on their behalf in the cloud, so to speak.
It must have been a tough time though to sell to banks during that period, was it?
Yeah.
God.
Yes.
It must have been good. It must have. And you were you technical delivery, so you were with customers as well.
I was with customers as well.
In-house,
So both sides, which is kind of always been my career a little bit. So yeah, both sides. So would be meeting customers and dealing with customers on the tech side as well. And but yeah, what happened there, which I've seen in subsequent companies as well. Once we got the kind of first one or two banks, it started to roll and started to progress. Because all of a sudden it was like, well, they're using Centennial for the solution, so therefore why aren't we as such, right? So it kind of creates that momentum and that kind of rolling
compound effect or testimonial crap out of it, and it's like, well, if they're doing it,
yes, and especially in larger enterprise type deals, right? Because once you get some of the bigger logos, it becomes that kind of rolling effect.
I suppose, and it was a forced EU thing with the CEPA, wasn't it? Yes. It was like there was timing, right?
So
they had to.
Yeah. And I suppose the thing for the banks as well is that they were struggling to build their own solutions in time, because banks are slow moving when it comes to tech, generally slow moving and all those types of things, and legacy systems and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So they were struggling to meet these deadlines which were imposed by the EU essentially. So that's where, it was a great opportunity for Centennial to come in and kind of position themselves. So, but yeah, I learned loads in that. So
it was fintech before it was called fintech, I suppose.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It wasn't.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
Just software.
And it used to be a bit of, maybe a running joke or whatever, that like you didn't actually need to go do an MBA when you're in Centennial because you were exposed to so much that, you were getting exposed to so much business and so much going on that you're kind of learning as you went along in that regard, But great people there, like still keep in touch with some of them, who've gone on, actually done really, really good things in terms of their careers and in different places. A few you probably would know actually, but so yeah, great people.
Did it go to Brightville after that, was it?
No. Went to Brightville after that. Yeah,
okay. So that would be so from fintech to kind of software down for telcos, wasn't it?
Telcos, yeah. And similar in terms of, I say similar because, again, similar to selling to big, huge kind of organizations. Like if you think of North America, the likes of AT&T and Sprint and Comcast, like these big. Now, obviously, they started off selling in Ireland first to Eircom or Air, as they're called now, and then Vodafone and stuff, and kind of expanded from there.
But was it billing? It was like pure, it was a CRM and billing.
It was billing.
Pure telco kind of
billing. Yeah, and in North America, billing was quite old school in terms of that people got the bill and then they paid. Right, it was less direct debit and stuff. Yeah, it might have changed a little bit more in more recent years to credit card stuff, but there was still a lot that would wait till they got their invoice and then they paid their bill. Right, so and again, legacy systems. So it's very hard for these companies to change things on the bill or make amendments, and if they did, there was a lot of costs involved and slowness and all that type of stuff.
So streamlining all of that, making it
absolutely
prettier, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, so clunky, legacy, slow moving. So it's similar. They face similar challenges as you alluded to there.
Yes,
as the bank. So simimer kind of different industry, but similar problem set, similar people.
Exactly. And again, would have been a client-facing role and a tech role as well. So would have been.
Were you traveling a bit then? Was there?
Yeah, a lot of travel. So over to North America a lot. Like you'd be, sometimes you might be over 2 weeks at a time, maybe even longer. Just for probably a year or two, maybe every month, you were traveling and stuff like that. Because again, pre-COVID, the expectation was that you would be face to face.
Yeah, it was, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it's coming back in a bit more now, but
yes,
it's still. Yeah,
but the expectations were there, and that's especially those types of client relationships. They were multi-million-dollar deals, like significant deals, right? So therefore, they expected that engagement, especially when things went wrong. Like they wanted they wanted to look in the eyeball and go, "Hey, is this going to be okay?"
And were you there when was it Amdocs acquired them?
Yes.
Were you there during that whole period, or were you gone before that?
No, absolutely. I was there when we got acquired. So we got acquired in September 2016. And I would have stayed for about 18 months afterwards.
Okay.
Which was really interesting to see. So Amdocs, probably a company of about 30,000 people. When we were acquired, I guess Brightbill might have been maybe about 150 people, give or take. 100 to 150. And so it was very different. And again, I'd been working in smallish companies right up to that point, pretty much, right? Or at least for the kind of past 15 years. So then get acquired by a company like 30,000 people, very different experience and how they work. And
Where there's origins? Israel.
Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Israel. Yeah. So it went across Israel once or twice, to Tel Aviv and stuff, which was interesting.
But on the receiving end, so the challenge is when you acquired and what the expectation. I don't know, right? So I'm curious about your story with that, like on the receiving end and like integrating into the beast of that. Like, was that like, I wouldn't say it's plain sailing. Like, what did you learn from that? Like, what was your experience? What you can tell us?
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was, up to that point before the acquisition, we were a competitor against Amdocs. Right? So mentality level was like, we'd always wanted to beat Amdocs, right? And we were beating them, right? And then they bought us.
Hence,
right?
Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah.
Which is part of like...
kudos stuff. It's kind of like...
Yes, exactly, right?
You beat us, so you buy us.
Yeah, and in fairness to Alan and Jim, Alan Coleman, who's the CEO, and Jim Hannon, who's the CTO, who founded the company, that was a strategy, right, in terms of doing that, right, in terms of beating them, eventually we couldn't acquire it. But that was a very different thing as well, because we always seen them as the competition or the people we had to beat, and all of a sudden you're working for them, right? So even that alone is
dynamic.
Yeah, it's a very different dynamic coming in, right? So even on both sides was this kind of face off, right? We were kind of going, trying to gain trust and all those types of things.
You've seen it through. That was a good, at least you got to witness that for a period of time after it. Right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that was good. And for a period of time, I mean, at least my experience in terms of acquisition, and I suspect a lot of large companies do that. For a period of time, you're left alone and let run independently. But over time, they absorb more and more into the broader company. So I guess towards the end of my time there, that was happening more and more, and you would have less autonomy and less freedom as how you would run things in Brightbill previously, So
yeah, it's a different.
Yes. Different
opportunity, perhaps.
Yeah, right? Different company. But it was still really interesting to go through that and see how that works. And I got a good understanding of it actually as well, because, talk about eDesk a little bit, we've done acquisitions there as well. So you get an understanding what it's like being on the other side. I think that helped me a little bit in terms of when I came to eDesk, and we were kind of acquiring companies there as well, because you understand, right, how the people coming on board are feeling, right, and their concerns and worries and all those types of things, right? Because so it was good, and it was interesting, and also just interesting to see. I'd worked in big companies earlier on in my career, but at a more senior level, to see how bigger companies run and operate, maybe some inefficiencies that are there, which always give startups a chance, right? That's why, in my opinion, maybe part of it is why you can always, even with something that's there already, you always have a chance as a startup, because big companies just get to a scale and size where it's so hard for them to move and respond and be agile.
Particularly the pace of innovation now, it seems to accelerate, doesn't it? So like, you just become victim of your own success, and it's stifling rather than
exactly
nimble and agile. Exactly.
So there's always
a chance.
There's always a chance of an area, especially in large business, where they're doing something, but maybe not doing something as well, because they're so they're so broad, and as I said, they tend to not be able to react as quickly. So I think you kind of know that already, but again, seeing that firsthand would just reinforce that too, in terms of this is why, and this is kind of why we were beating them, right? Because we could respond quicker and have better tech and do things a smarter way, whereas they would just struggle to do because of the layers that they would have in the organization. So
such a conscious thing, isn't it, to be able to keep that ability to be dynamic in a business, isn't it? I know Steve Jobs used to chat a lot about that, about the lack of committees they used to have in Apple, and that's why they were quite successful, because they were able to, in his words, remove the layers and the bureaucracy and the stuff that kind of could hold back innovation and all that, But maybe there's a few other narratives to that story as well. But
yes, that's exactly. It's like
for another day. But anyway, tell me then. So, did you go straight to Excelco after that gig, or was there anything else?
No, that was straight to Excelco. So
which year was that? That was. It's been there. You 10 years there yet?
No, 8 years in April.
8 years.
Yeah, I would have met. So Excelco, or eDesk as we're called now, was founded by Ray Nolan. Ray has had a lot of success, probably maybe the most well-known tech entrepreneur in Ireland, maybe, but would have founded Hostelworld, which had a big exit, would be involved in Skyscanner, would be involved in lots of different tech businesses, both as a founder and also in terms of chairman and lots of different roles. He would have founded Excelco back in, I guess, around 2014. But he knew Alan, who was the CEO of Brightbill, and he was looking for a CTO. And Alan mentioned my name, and I met him. I think it was the day after Stevens' day, actually. So I might have been slightly hungover, and met him for coffee. Well, I don't drink coffee, so I had a tea. He had a coffee. He spoke for, I don't know, an hour. I nodded my head. At the end of it, he said, "What's your number?" Gave him a number. We shook hands. That was kind of it. I had to work out my notice, maybe 3 months or whatever in Brightbill Armdocks at the time. But then I would have joined April 2nd, 2018 is when I joined the company.
So who are eDesk? Give us a elevator pitch.
Yeah, elevator pitch.
What do they do? What problem do they solve?
Well, I always say the easy way to say it, have you ever bought anything online? The answer is yes. And have you ever had a problem with customer support with a purchase online? Most people say yes. And eDesk fixes that problem. So what we do essentially is our product is built for online sellers. That's people who can sell on their own website or sell on marketplaces like Amazon or eBay or Walmart. What eDesk does, it consolidates all the places people sell on and where they have communication, and it pulls all the messages and orders, because we're built for e-commerce, into a single inbox, and that allows the customer support agents to respond to any queries that come in either via chat or email or messaging across all the different channels. Like typically e-commerce sellers will be selling across multiple different locations. So as I say, the website, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, these days, there's like stuff like TikTok Shop, and you also have social channels like Instagram and X and Meta or Facebook. And you're getting communication coming in or message coming in across all those channels. We just centralize all that into a single inbox and allow you to respond. And then we've AI layered on top of that. So that allows you to automate, respond quickly, handle multilingual capabilities, all that type of stuff. Run 24/7, even if you don't have 24/7 staff. So that's what we do. Built for e-commerce.
But were you there at the beginning, like, what they were like modernizing the tech? Like you walked in as a CTO, right? Like,
yes.
What was it like? What stage was the business at when you arrived? They had a product, or they had customers. They were getting going, or what was the stage?
They would have been going. So they would have had a good core of customers. There was revenue. They were good. Like as I said, founded in 2014. The original products probably really launched 2015, 16-ish. So the 2 or 3 years under the belt at this stage, and good revenue, all those types of things. But we had some challenges, I guess, in particular around our product and architecture. So Excelco had a help desk product. But what we did then in 2018 is we kind of took that and rebuilt it somewhat and launched eDesk, which was kind of the next evolution of the help desk. So that was the first big project I would have taken on, and it would have involved in terms of both the product direction, but then also the underpinning architecture and making sure we're building it so we could scale better and handle. I mean, e-commerce or any SaaS business is a 24/7 business. So, you have to have stuff like zero downtime, and you have to be able to scale at peak volume, especially in e-commerce. If you think of e-commerce, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yeah, periods of the year that's like really spiky, right? In relation to expectations of consumers, right?
Yes.
And then obviously the retail businesses want to maximize those periods. I would imagine, that's where the bulk of their revenues comes from those periods.
And they have, obviously, there's one that about, but you could have to be companies who will sell, I don't know, outdoor camping stuff, right? And obviously summer
seasonal.
For them. So there's lots of those peaks and troughs, okay? So obviously you need to build a platform that can handle that. Because the worst thing that can happen to an e-commerce business is during their peak period that the systems don't work, right? Because that's what,
sales.
Yeah. Because that's where they can make.
Or customers are having a shit experience, right? And you're not, the CS team isn't getting back to them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Or they're missing something because it's fucking Instagram or TikTok,
Yes.
So it's tough, isn't it, for these businesses? Like,
absolutely.
Trying to get people in that are skilled enough, quick enough, right? I'd imagine it's a big headache.
It is a big headache
for the buyer.
It is, and that's why they could do up to 60 or 70% of their volume during a peak period, right? So obviously from our side then as well, they're dealing with 60 or 70% of their customer support volume in that period as well, right? And traditionally, maybe before the birth of AI, they would have to try and hire for that peak season, and they wouldn't want, when it comes to customer support staff, they might have a team. I'll make it up, a team of 5, right? But then when they get to peak period, they might need a team of 10. But that would be trying to find another 5 kind of temporary people for 3 months, and train them up and get them ramped up, and everything, the operational headache that comes with that, and every year, in terms of dealing with that, right? So that's jumping ahead a little bit, but that's where we see the real benefit, some of the benefits really of AI, where they can handle that peak volume for them and allow them to scale up and down without the need to change the overall structure of their team. We're seeing that more.
But is that the AI layer that you say sits on top of it? Like, just put that in dummy language for me mainly. Maybe very mainly me, right? So what do you mean is the AI layer like? Because everyone has to chat about, if you're building software these days, you have to probably chat about AI. Some kind of AI within it, right? Help me understand, where's the AI in the current product, or maybe what it might look like in the future?
Absolutely. Well, we built AI into the product back in 2018.
Okay, you were early.
We were early. Because we were always focused on e-commerce, right? We never focused on anything else. We had a slight advantage, because if you had a customer support solution, but you're across many different sectors or vectors, you had quite a broad range of data that you would have to try and train your AI on. With e-commerce, we had a narrower set. And when it comes to e-commerce, probably 70% of the queries you kind of put into 10 categories, like, where's my order?
Okay, so from a machine learning perspective, it wasn't that broad. You could quickly.
It's structured. So where's my order? I want an invoice. I want to return this product. What size does this come in?
More predictable.
It's more predictable. And we had a good e-commerce data set, obviously, which because we've been in business since 2014 or 2015. So we built our own machine learning model. I mean, think of it as it's a pre-early LLM, and it was good. I mean, 2 things we ran up against in terms of challenges were maybe just the breadth of data that we'd have, like, in terms of, because the more data you have, the better you can train it, but also just the computational power you needed. Like, it was a lot of effort and time and money, right? Because we host in AWS, right? So
the consumption of
consumption, right?
Yeah.
So training the models was expensive, right? And also labor intensive. Like, it was a lot of time and effort to go into it. But still, we embedded in the product around the workflows, and it was it worked. It was very successful that way. The funny thing was, like, back in 2018, like, people were a lot more reluctant. Everyone's talking about AI these days. Yeah. My dad's 83, right? He asked me about AI. So brilliant. Yeah, so it's just everyone's using it. It's just
ChatGPT is like Google, really. It's as familiar, isn't it?
Yeah, it's as familiar, right? It's not just for business. People are using it for personal lives. Everything, right? It's just nearly commonplace, right? That 2018 wasn't that long ago to me, but it was very different back then. So there was a lot of reluctance with our client base in terms of trust, and like, I'm not sure I want to use AI here. I don't know if I trust it. I don't, so, and the general awareness, like, AI back then was something that was like, oh, that's kind of, I'm not sure. That's futuristic.
Very shiny.
Yeah. Like, people were not sure, right? So that you had to really try and convince customers, and even you could demo it and show it and show it that this works, and still there'd be a little bit of reluctance. And now it's flipped on its head, right? Now people expect AI to solve everything.
In every function, really.
Make their dinner, drive them home. It's just, it's flipped, right? People expect, the expectations around it now have skyrocketed.
Yeah. I mean, consumers, even if you think about it if you're buying stuff online, you kind of you have a different expectation even around anything you interact with from an AI perspective now, isn't it? Your whole shopping experience, do you mean I have to add this again, or whatever? Why do they not know me?
Yes.
That learned behavior of, particularly if you're interacting. So I would imagine makes it even harder then when you're building a product that has to evolve at the pace at which the market expectation is an all-time high.
Absolutely, yeah.
So how do you come up with a future-proof roadmap then for all of that? Is it?
Yes.
Is it like? Sorry, it's a stupid question, but is it? Like, where is it going? Like, if you're to look at where you're at as a business right now, and you've had some success, right? Like, give me some numbers. What you, if you don't, are you able to share anything?
No, absolutely. Yeah. In terms of size of business, we're probably doing about 50 million ARR in terms of size. We're profitable and growing. You know,
customers all over the place. Don't you?
yeah. We've
good
about
spread.
We've good spread. We've about 3,500 customers. About 40% of them are in the US. About 35% in the UK. About 15% across Europe, and about 10% dotted across the rest of the world. You know, generally our customers come and sign up, to sign up for a trial or to do a demo. I mean, we have a sales team who, engage with them, help them convert. Typically, they sign up for a 2-week trial and, put a credit card in and buy the product. It's a kind of idea of the product is that, you can self-service, so you can sign up yourself. You can add your different sales channels and your communication channels and set up your workflows.
Quite intuitive, yeah.
Quite easy
to...
Yeah, plug and play, kind of just old school kind of terminology, but it's that.
Yeah.
It's that kind
ease of cracking on.
Yes. Yeah. The whole thing is like typically e-commerce businesses, they're very busy businesses, right? There's a lot going on. So for us, we try and make it as simple as possible to onboard, as simple as possible to get the product up and running. Because the whole, we want to get them to that well moment as quickly as possible, right? In terms of that, okay, this is making my life easier. This is solving a problem. So we're all about getting to that point as quickly as possible. And yeah, so a lot of focus on that because they're busy businesses, right? So they're time poor in terms of what they have. So,
and is it predominantly being a small to medium business kind of target market or mid market? I know it's different in different sectors, but like it was quite deliberate. It wasn't like maybe the equivalent like a big enterprise type of ticket. Like it's slightly different, isn't it? That you just go after, or is that deliberate, or is there a plan for a different?
No.
If you're back to the question, about the roadmap and where it could go and what it could do. Like, what can you say?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think
without your competitors, kind of. Don't worry, they'll buy you. I'm just kidding. Rinse and repeat. No. This guy's done it. Go on, sorry.
That's all good. Yeah, like 70-80% of our customers are SMB. Like in obviously there's lots of variations in e-commerce. You got big brands and big companies, but you got a lot of, I suppose in our origins of our story, it was the product's built for smaller business or traders or, where you would often kind of think of the traders of Moore Street, that type, right? You know what I mean? He would sell online, right? And we still have customers today who could sell lots of different things online in terms of, and are kind of traders. And we always have a lot of, over time, we've built up with a lot more brands and bigger companies, but I suppose the DNA of the company is still around that. And in terms of roadmap and where we're going, obviously AI is playing and it's moving at such pace. I think that's in the last 18 months. And it's just accelerating the things, in terms of ability to now even to write code and stuff by using AI tools, right, which is really accelerating the last few months, helps you accelerate even quicker in terms of roadmap and where you want to go. But look, absolutely for us in terms of we look at customer support, and we already see this with our customers, that like AI can automate up to 50, 60, in some cases even 70%, of your standard tickets that are coming in. And that allows you to respond. Again, you touched on it earlier on in terms of different channels, and us as consumers expect that engagement at all times, right? So I'm at home in the evening time, browsing on my phone. There might be some impulse buy or purchase that I'm kind of interested in. It could be on Instagram, could be on TikTok, could be somewhere else. And I have a question I want to ask about that product. I expect an answer straight away. And if I don't get it, I'm probably going to bounce and not buy the product. So we think about customer engagement around those different channels. And that's where eDesk is that's where we're pushing towards. So when you as a consumer sitting home asking that question, you get a response straight away from AI. It's connect, but the key thing is the data that we have in our platform. So we have the order data, you have your product feed, your product data, your product catalog. So again, you can't AI data you don't have. We have the data. So if I'm a consumer asking a question, the AI can answer the question with context. It has the order history, it has the product data. You can tell if it's in stock or not. So you can say, yeah, we have it in this color, this size, and it's in stock. And if you order, it's going to be delivered in 2 days. And me as a consumer, okay, great. I'm going to hit order now. And we can see that in conversion rates, like what we call pre-sales questions. So before we're going to purchase, if you answer them in less than 15 minutes and answer them accurately, quickly, your conversion rate increases by like 20-30%, right? In terms of, So it's significant, right? And then a lot of those questions happen in the evening time or in the weekends. That's when consumers are asking those questions, right? So you might be an e-commerce business, obviously your staff Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 in your time zone, but you're selling globally and you have evenings, weekends and stuff like that. So I think key for us is that automation allows you to engage with those customers across all those different channels, 24 in any language. So you could be an Irish e-commerce business, but you have a potential consumer in France who is asking you a question in French. You're able to respond in native French, right? So those
it's
types of
amazing
things.
though, isn't it? That what you're chatting about there, like ultimately the shift in like the perception of a customer, bloody this chatbot or this AI thing, I want to chat to a human, right? But who gives a shit actually if it's given me the right information in a quick time and like, that whole mindset I think has changed, that it's kind of irrelevant. Like how quick can they give me the information that I need that helps me with my buying decision, or, something like that has definitely been incredibly noticeable, the sophistication and the reputation of AI, and people they just don't give a shit anymore. As long as if you're a business, you're thinking, oh, well, our differentiate might be, oh, you speak to human, or, it's John or Sally or PK, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Like it just shows that if you have the data and access and there's good tech behind it all,
Yes.
like that can only improve, right? And then if it's driving more automation, you might still have a human in the loop, but it's more for the higher touch, higher engaging, more like valuable stuff.
Absolutely.
In that cycle, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
that's very noticeable, isn't it? Like clearly you're seeing it, but like just from a consumer perspective.
But I think that's
it. Genuine,
yes.
just don't give a fuck if you're chatting to someone.
No,
properly anymore.
No, not anymore. And
I don't even know if I want to chat to her. Just give me quickly.
You don't.
I'm going skiing Friday.
Yes.
Just give me my fucking waterproof trousers.
Yes. Do you know?
Could be embarrassing.
Yes.
No. Go on.
But that's. I think that's.
I'm so excited. Sorry, I just kind of got a bit enthusiastic there.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. This is like it's fucking obvious now.
But whatever. 5 years ago, like nobody wanted to engage with a chatbot because it was this kind of if then else flow, right? It was just like, are you, and you just be stuck in this loop. You just, oh God, I just want an answer.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's all we want is an answer, right? That's and we all expect those answers quicker and quicker. And that's why I come back to that, once the AI is connected to the data, it can give you that answer quickly. You're like, great, happy. I got my answer quick. In fact, the AI can give the answer. Like, so some of the e-commerce business would have product catalog of, like, they'll have thousands of SKUs or products. It's very hard for a human to know all that detail. So, even
they're man in having to look up stuff, and it's all like,
is it, is in stock, blah, blah, and they can still get it wrong,
How was your weekend? And you're having small talk shy, but like,
yes, but like the AI will have the answer there and then and respond. So that's why that's our advantage in the plug to eDesk, is that we're connected to all the data. Right? That's the big. That's our big USP, right? Across no matter where you sell, right? And we have access to that, and that allows those responses to go quick. And back to your point in terms, absolutely, humans are still involved. But they're more. I think in some business you talk about customer success and customer support as separate. I think now it'll be more about humans will be more focused on customer success, which is handling VIP customers and dealing with more complex cases and stuff that
concierge type.
And also giving that assurance that there is still someone there if you want to bypass, you can actually speak to someone and there's still a face behind the brand. So there's still a role there, but in terms of automation, that's where we're going. And then the other thing for us in terms of that data is, because we're connected to all those platforms, and it's thinking about in terms of how we can, because lots of other people would like to build off the data we'd have, right? Which we're good with, but we just need to think about how we would position that, and in terms of how we might give access to some of that data through API endpoints and stuff like that people could.
Oh, okay. So to try to get maybe stickier with the customers, driving more insights, driving more.
Yes.
You know a lot about their business.
Absolutely.
From all of that, right?
Yes.
So how you? Oh, okay. So that's potentially when you're chatting about future-proofing the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff.
Right. And there's a lot of, even if you think, I speak about the business of e-commerce sellers and stuff like that, you'd be surprised about what they don't know about their business. So for example, they might have a really high selling product, right? So when they look at the sales numbers, it's really good, really strong. But it might turn out actually that product's driving a lot of negative sentiments. It's getting bad reviews, because there could be something wrong with the product that they're not quite aware of, right? So there's actually a lot of rich data, even in conversations and sentiment and stuff like that. We already have started to surface that in eDesk, but more and more of that, because a lot of times there's an untapped area in terms of customer conversations and what's going on, right? That businesses are not aware of.
Geez, yeah, that could be gold. Intervention basically. Like how do we get ahead of losing customers? You know what I mean? Like how do we actually, before they talk shite about us on some?
Absolutely. Like, because most times a lot of business only knows when the customer starts talking shite about you. You know what I mean? You're like, how did that happen?
It's reactive rather than proactive.
Yes. Yeah. So it's getting ahead of that. And like in any...
So the more you package that insight and the more that you kind of make it accessible and pretty and that.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's another revenue model as well. Obviously, if it's driving value, but clearly if you can get stickier.
Yes, exactly.
Makes your business valuable from a recurring revenue perspective, right?
Yeah.
Stop the bucket leaking and all that.
Exactly, right. And it's like in all business, right? It's customer acquisition's harder. It's cost more. Even this year with AI, right? Like stuff like Google and stuff now is completely changing. Landscape, SEO, all that stuff is like really changing, right? So it's harder than ever, I would say, to acquire new customers. So you need to look after the ones that you have already. Do you know? Like and in particular for lots of business, but e-commerce business in particular, it's an untapped area a little bit, right? Because like acquiring new customers is costly. You have to put money in, growth, all those types of things. And they put a lot of time and effort in there, of course. But, you can get, and we've seen it already with some of our customers, by kind of focusing a little bit more in terms of the existing customers and what they can do there. And you can do things there which are cost less, but can still have impact to your bottom line. And,
even the promoters,
absolutely
flying your flag and championing.
Absolutely, like
we
we built a thing in the product a few years back to highlight VIP customers, people who repeatedly purchase off you, who love you and your product, right? It's like, and kind of back to where the humans get your customer support and success team to engage with them and see what they might do for you, and and how they promote you. And online, obviously, we talk about online all the time and online reviews and all that type of stuff. But everyone still talks offline as well, right? So it's like we all tell our family, friends, neighbors, work colleagues when we have, not happy with a particular service or product, whatever. So that still happens, right? Online is obviously still a big part, but there's still that offline piece that happens. So tapping into your customers, understanding them and seeing how you can use that as a bit of a flywheel is something that we'd be we're a big believer in eDesk, obviously, so.
Oh, I'm sold on eDesk. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Right. Back to you. I want to know how and what is the difference between, and what is the learning? What is the leadership podcast? I want to chat a bit more about leadership and you, and I don't know, we're listening about your leadership style throughout this anyway. So you, unusually, when I look at the market and I look at the data, unusual, you went from being a CTO in a business to MD to now CEO, right? Very rare I see that. What was that journey like? And like how different is that role for you? And like, how have you had to kind of, so I'm throwing shitloads at you. How have you had to kind of like upskill, or again, there'd be people engaging, hopefully, in this content, right? About, they've got ambition, I might be CTO, they might be the scale up. They might think, okay, one day I'd love to properly be the captain of this, which, obviously the CEO is. Obviously we report to boards and shareholders, yada, yada, yada. But you're running it really now, right?
Yes.
So tell me about that, because that's unusual.
It is unusual.
And I'm intrigued.
Yeah, yes. But the first thing I never set out to be CEO, right? That was never like, this is what I want to do and have this drive and ambition. I think for me, and I touch on what I spoke about earlier, I was just exposed because I worked in smaller companies, even at a junior level, I was just exposed to more of the business. And I always enjoyed speaking to customers and engaging with different parts of the business. So I always it wasn't just pure tech for me, right? I always liked those different elements. So I think that stood to me even when I joined eDesk, right? Because I was always involved a bit in the commercial side of things. And Ray, in fairness, used to always say to me, you're the most commercially minded CTO I've ever worked with, right? So even
from he spotted it.
Yeah, even from an early stage, you would have spotted that. And then obviously when I came in as CTO, there was, things to fix in the product and architecture, and, maybe in my career as well, I tend to kind of be fixing problems. So it was just maybe a natural evolution, right? I was just kind of, fix the architecture, fix the product, build out the product, all those sorts of things. And you start to move more towards go-to-market activities and different areas in the business and get involved more and more. And I would have worked very closely with Ray over the 8 years, so obviously part of that starts rubbing off on you as well, right, in terms of his knowledge. And I mean, he's obviously had a very successful career, and he's been CEO in multiple companies and stuff like that. So, that just starts to impart on you a little bit as you go along. So yeah, probably, gosh, I guess about 16, 17 months ago, whenever it was, he kind of said to me, do you fancy kind of being managing director? And I said, yeah, okay. So that was the extent of it, But it is very different. It's a different type of role, right? Because, in tech, right, it's still, you're still dealing with ones and zeros, really, right? So like, computers generally do what you tell them to do most times. Do you know what I mean? People always don't, right? So it's a different dynamic, right, in terms of when you're responsible for the overall different functions and trying to make them gel. And people are constantly still looking to you, right, in terms of that assurance and guidance, and are we on the right path? So there's that element as well, in terms of that you constantly have to, respective of, you might have a bad day, or or whatever's happening and going on in your life, you still have to show up, and you still have to present, and you still have to, because I guess everyone in the company to a certain degree is kind of looking and making, so there's that piece, which is a little bit different.
So is that pressure, or is that just expectation, or just the sheer variety of the different functions that you've had to?
It's just a little bit different in terms of, I guess a CTO would be a little bit more hands-on in terms of the actual, in terms of the day-to-day. Or CEO, you've your different functions, and you're letting them operate within certain parameters, and so it's different in that regard, right? Whereas a CTO, you might be a little bit more hands-on and diving deep in certain issues, or getting into kind of a little bit more of the meat, I guess. In this role, you're trying to set a little bit more of the guidance and where we want to go, and the kind of directionally, right, this is what we want to do, and then kind of letting the functions, or the people that run those functions, go off and run with that. So that's different.
Is that the hardest part? Just the variety of it? Like, I don't get it. Like, what do you actually mean? Like, is it like the like, okay, you could very confidently zone in on a tech thing because you were just so part of that journey. So from a product, as initial product, well, if I need to weigh in on something, I can have a voice and I'll be credible, yada yada. Like, so like that was very much in your arsenal, and in your comfort zone, and of course, no fucking brainer, right?
Yes.
But it's a delivery issue and a cloud stuff, security. You could definitely weigh in, right?
Yes.
But when so when you're CEO, and obviously you're chatting about marketing, or you're chatting about commercial, or you're chatting with finance, or you're chatting with whatever, right? All the different functions. Is it just the reality of I won't be able to go deep on this, or it's very deliberate? Well, I can't really, because that's not my job, and I have to take a step back and strategically, be the conductor of the orchestra rather than diving in. Like, what do you actually mean by that? Because like lots of people do ask, we have these conversations generally when people have the ambition to get to this, and then they're analyzing their own skill set and path to get to this, and it's like, okay, well, how do I actually, I get it. You've been coaching, developed, and you've had that awareness, and you're clearly Ray's been like, well, you're a bit too humble and unassuming. But Ray's obviously thinking, and he knows, he's been around the block and knows what fucking good looks like. And he's obviously like, well, you've got this in you, so crack on.
Yes.
So what is it? What's the challenge when you go from that to that? Because I understand what you're saying. Maybe it was just easy for you because it come naturally to you. But was there any learnings or anything that you've had to be very deliberate about? I don't even know what I'm asking, but hopefully you know what I'm saying.
I think so. I think, look, the first thing, it might have been a natural evolution for me to a certain degree, because I worked in the business for quite a long time, right? And I would have been involved in commercial discussions, and
So that point that Ray said, you're the most commercial CTO, like clearly you're well comfortable with customers. You've had to do that in your earlier career.
Yes.
You've done a degree later, which probably helped actually in a roundabout way. You've done different industries. So you've had to naturally interact with all these functions anyway. So I think it wasn't a big learning curve.
No, I think that stood to me, right? It wasn't like I went, oh shit, all of a sudden I have to speak to customers, or marketing, or digital. I've been dealing with that, right? And dealing with some elements of that maybe all through my career, or even the customer facing part, right? And when I say customer facing, there was always a commercial element to it, right? Even if I wasn't I wasn't in sales or negotiating the deal, but I was still, adjacent to it I was there. And, you'd hear the conversation. So you pick up, for me at least, the way I've always worked is picked up as I've gone along. I mean, even when I joined Brightbill on my first day, because we're in a small office, I remember walking the first day and my seat, like, it was just standing at a desk. And I was sitting beside the CEO, right, Alan, right? I was like, shit, like first stage, like right beside. And it was a cramped little office, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking, God, this is going to be like. And I remember Alan, because Alan's a great guy, but I remember the first time, and I was like, you'd be a bit nervous, kind of sitting beside the CEO or whatever, and kind of sitting there, and he kind of shouted across the room to this guy called Tony. He was like, Tony, what's the story with this thing? And I was like, I don't know. And he goes, what the fuck am I meant to do? Like in a jokey way, and I kind of went, yeah, he's good. But Alan would be. I would hear Alan like selling deals, right, to multi-million dollar deals, or trying to sell them, and he'd be sitting beside me on the phone. I was just hearing this, right? So even that alone, you start to learn and pick up things and different bits and pieces, So, for me at least, that wasn't such a daunting jump in terms of kind of, oh God, now I have to be responsible. I think one thing I go back to tech generally does what you tell it to do, right? So like when you're building a platform or code or architecture, like, it's quite binary that way, right? You tell it does something. If it doesn't do it, it's a bug, or something's gone wrong, right? When it comes to go to market, or that's a much more of a gray area, I would say, in terms of, do you know what I mean? It's not as systematic, right? It's not as precise, right? So there's more, what's the right word, looseness there, which I guess for me is that's a little bit different, right? Because as I said, in
being
tech,
comfortable with ambiguity type of thing, or you're making bets on.
Yeah, you're making bets a little bit more, right? In terms of with this, and again, like we've had success and we're a good company, but we're still going up against bigger companies, and who would have lots more reserves in terms of cash and can do things and not worry so much about that. So we're trying to make educated bets and seeing what things work and what mightn't work. So those things are a little bit different, right? Because when it comes to product tech, you build something, generally you build it and and materialize that like that. But here there's a little bit more ambiguity, a little bit more, we're going to try some of these things and see if it works, and then kind of we might have to pivot and stuff like that. So but that's part of the fun or the challenge as well, I guess.
And is there anything that, I don't know, is it different at all than what you thought it was, the role of a CEO? Like, is it kind of obvious to you? Well, okay, I kind of knew it was going to be that, or is there something that's kind of been like, I'm not asking you to cry or anything here. I'm just like, is there something that's kind of, you're like, oh God, this is, I didn't expect this, or this is actually, God, there's a lot more of this than I thought, or this. And
yeah, I think maybe a couple of things. I think the first thing is just, because I still see myself as the same person, right? And the same company and stuff like that. Even people I've worked for quite a long time perceive me as a little bit different, because now I'm CEO. I'm like, hey, I'm still Gareth, still the same person, right? But there is a perception difference, right? So I didn't expect that so much, to be honest, And that brings, I kind of go back to the point in terms of, showing up, and because people are kind of looking at you a little bit more, right? In terms of the leader, because you said at the start, like you are responsible, you are the leader, right? So that took me by surprise a little bit in terms of people I worked for many years. And I'm not saying I don't have a good relationship animore, but it's just different. I see,
it evolves, the relationship evolves,
yes.
and has to, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes,
It's a.
So that's the thing. And the other point, which I would always have, I've said this probably story a couple of times, but it was a good few years ago. I was living in Canada at the time. At age, it was about 24, 25. I was going through a bit of, life is like that, right? You go through ups and downs. I was going through a little bit of a period, and I got I think it was a postcard from my dad. And it just had written on, keep her going, Dad, right? So just keep her going, So that would be a mantra of mine in terms of even work and stuff. Like, you have good days, you have bad days, that's how it is, but you have to keep going and keep showing up, especially in a smaller company, right? In terms of, so that's part of, one of our cultural values and stuff like that. I know sometimes people have different opinions on them, but one of them will be resilience in terms of keep showing up, keep going. We all have bad days, we all have bad weeks, we all have bad months. There's a guy on LinkedIn I follow, SaaS now, Jason Lemkin, I think he's kind of produces a lot of SaaS content, good, and he puts up posts on LinkedIn a lot and follow him and stuff, and he puts up the same post probably once a month. He goes, And he goes, and he talks about founders and stuff, and he says, even I feel like quitting every quarter. Do you know what I mean? 2 or 3 times a quarter, even I feel like quitting. As in, like, it can be hard, like, in terms of that position. And I remember Ray a few years back talking about being CEO, and I remember him looking at me going, "You don't want to be CEO." And I said, "Why do you say that?" And he goes, "Because it's a tough job. Like, it's, do you know what I mean?" And maybe I appreciate that more now that I'm in the position, because it is, you're expected to show up and carry positivity, and you're expected that the whole time, right? You don't get to have a bad day. You don't get to come in and say, "I'm not really in the mood today to handle," because you have to show up every day, and you have to get on.
Lock yourself in a
corner
office.
Yeah,
even if you got nice office.
Yes. I have to keep the door open.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
He's playing the computer again.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What's he doing in there again? So yeah.
Well, that's honest of you, though. Yeah. Jeez, Adam. Your dad's sending you that. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
So clearly he was a.
So it stuck. Yeah, no, it stuck with me, and that would be always a thing. When my parents were great in terms of their support and everything, they always backed me. But it would be, just keep going, right? Like, no matter what kind of happens, and as I say, things happen in life as you go through it, but it's just keep going. Like, that's keep her going, right? So that would be my little mantra, and I try to say that a little bit. I mean, say a little bit, I guess, in eDesk and stuff like that, and say to people, because I think that's important, right? You keep showing up, you keep doing your best.
Like that. Yeah, it's always going to be ups and downs.
It's like, look.
But clearly, the human stuff that you bring to your leadership, I'd say, is very.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't. If you think of the stereotypical personality of a CEO, it's probably nice that you have that kind of.
That end. Yeah. Well,
I've known you for a good few years, so it's probably different than me having a chat, but like that. I don't know, that authenticity and just kind of that human kind of touch, that, I don't know. That's always struck me about you anyway. I'd say people, I don't know, you still have a job to do and you have to lead, you have to, make tough decisions and that. But I think people like working with people that are normal. Do you know what I mean? Aren't willing to kind of like pretend they're fucking robots, like you're actually able to lead with that level of just openness and realness, I'd say that lands well.
I think, absolutely. I mean, even go back to Alan, who's CEO in Brightpill. I think he was maybe one of the first CEOs I saw with that. He was just normal, I said he sat beside him and he chatted. Do you know what I mean? He was just, there was no airs and graces. I mean, it sounds silly, but he'd getting a dart home and stuff like he was just very. He was just a relatable guy. You know what I mean? So I guess when I saw that, it was like, I mean, I think that would be my nature anyway. I always try to be like that from once I started to manage teams and stuff like that. But when I saw him, I don't, at least personally speaking, I don't think you have to be a certain type. I think I just try and be yourself always and bring yourself to work, because everyone has different stuff going on in their lives and stuff like that at different times. So you have to be aware of that as well, right? Like we're all, as you say, we're all human beings, right? So we all have different stuff going on. So just, you have to take that into consideration. And generally, for me at least, I always worked best when I was given a little bit of space and a little bit of autonomy and a little bit of understanding, and I wasn't kind of micromanaged so much. So I guess I try and do that a little bit as well in terms of the people I work with as well, So.
And then the ambition for eDesk then is crack on and sail off into the sunset, is it? Or what's the story?
Absolutely.
Hey, it's hard to scale and grow and sell or do whatever, an event or whatever lots of businesses try to aim towards, or whether it's that or something else. Like, is that crack on, just try and, obviously you've touched on some stuff there, but obviously work hard and keeping customers, and then, obviously make decent bets then to win. It's easier, isn't it? It's easier to spend money on winning stuff when you're looking after what you have, right? It's,
absolutely, yeah.
For obvious, it's more money to do it, but it's crack on, keep growing the company, keep the profit good. Yeah. Keep working with great people and hopefully see what happens. Is that you? And be the successful CEO and then see what happens then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've never, rightly or wrongly, I'm not one for kind of planning out, some people would be kind of saying 5 years want to be here, 10 years want to be there. I don't, that wouldn't be me. So in terms of ambitions for the company, we have great ambitions. As I say, especially with AI and the pace and things we think we can do for our customers, right? That really motivates us. Like, you know, in terms of kind of vision, what we want to do is like build great things. That's in our DNA. We love building software, product, tech. There's never like the pace of change is crazy, but there's never been a better time probably to be working in tech in terms of AI and the things you can do, and you know, so that's exciting, right? Like that's like sort of techie heart. So it's like that's really cool, and we want to be able to help our customers and then just kick off from there. So that's really what we're focused on, and you know, we're in a good place. We're a good company, work with good people. And in the macro terms, e-commerce is growing. Obviously, AI is growing. So you know, there's lots. We're in a very good space in that regard. So yeah, just continue what we're doing and keep driving on. You know.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing your story. It's a pleasure to chat to you. I really appreciate it, and we just wish you and the company and whatever happens all the best from us to you.
That's great. Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.